Attorney General Barr has the left in quite a state of apoplexy over his comments that other than slavery, the national coronavirus lockdown is the greatest deprivation of civil liberties.
Putting a national lockdown, stay-at-home orders is like house arrest. Other than slavery, which was a different kind of restraint, this is the greatest intrusion on civil liberties in American history.
Now, right away, we had these sort of familiar eruptions of outrage, and here's this guy, George Takei, apparently howling, "Wait a minute, I was interned along with other Japanese Americans during World War II. Wasn't that a worse lockdown?" This is what you could call the kind of counterexample business, to try to say, what about this one? And then the House Majority Whip, James Clyburn, is also outraged, saying that he can't believe that the Attorney General is comparing coronavirus to slavery.
I think that statement by Mr. Barr was the most ridiculous, tone-deaf, god-awful things I've ever heard.
Now, to start with Clyburn, I don't think he knows quite what a comparison means, because Attorney General Barr didn't say that this was, quote, just like slavery. He said other than slavery. And the meaning of that is after slavery. Slavery is admittedly the greatest denial of civil liberty. After that. So the comparison ultimately is to place the coronavirus lockdown in second place. There's no direct analogy to slavery. In no way is Barr saying they are the same. Now, turning to George Takei, the internment of Japanese Americans cannot be compared in scale because, of course, there was a certain number of Japanese Americans, several thousand, maybe tens of thousands, who were interned. But how does that compare with a lockdown, a national lockdown, that affects over 300 million Americans? I think what Barr is getting at is that even in previous pandemics and even in war, we haven't had this kind of idea that we lose our basic constitutional rights, of which the right to religious liberty is only the most blatant. Remember that these are rights that we get, they're inalienable from God. We don't ever give them over to the government. So where does the government have the right, for example, to take away our religious liberty? Where is that actually granted in the Constitution? Short answer, it's not. It doesn't even matter if a majority of people wants to deprive me of my First or Second Amendment rights. They cannot. I have never ceded those rights in the first place. So the bottom line of it is that when we think about it, the Attorney General is basically right. There is no constitutional warrant for these lockdowns, and I'm really glad that we are moving away from them. It's time that they stop.